Recording. There we go. So this is the start. It's the Technical and Affiliate Membership Program, what it means for RPSA. I'm Alan Milstein, Chairman of RPSA. Please check you're on mute and any questions in the chat facility. My contact details are there. I will repeat them at the end of the session. You are more than welcome to call me, email me, whatever. And rpsa.org.uk is our website. This session is being recorded, as I said. If you don't want to be identified, black bag over your head and remove your name or whatever, but it is being recorded. I don't think everybody is on show anyway. So what is the objective of this new membership program? It's to create the default mark of trust for consumers wishing to appoint a professional to undertake any survey inspection of their current, future or investment property. So it is all about consumers and what consumers need, and us meeting that need. And that's our job, that's our role here. Just a little bit of background for those of you that are not familiar or wholly familiar with RPSA. So we were formed in 2010, so we are a very, very young organization. We are only 12 years old. We've come an incredibly long way in 12 years. And when you think, actually, we kind of bumbled along because we had a sort of secretariat running the show up until early 2020. So it's only in the last couple of years that we've really, really moved forwards. We are a representative association for independent residential surveyors. We're not corporate, we're not global, we are very focused on independent residential surveyors. We are a not-for-profit organisation. We're set up as a limited company, limited by guarantee. Now, all the council members are directors, but because it's a company limited by guarantee, we don't get dividends or anything like that. So we don't take profits from the company because it's not a for-profit company. So people can be paid for doing work, but we don't take profits from the company, and equally the directors are not liable for the debts of the company. There are 3 full-time executive directors who basically run the association on a day-to-day basis. That's myself, my colleagues Jerry Quinnell and Andrew McColl. Jerry looks after finance, IT, membership. Andy looks after the panel. I do pretty much everything else. So total council is 8. We are approximately 700 members. Now, just to make the point that, as I said, we were formed in 2010. I became chairman in 2012. And from then until 2020, myself, Jerry and Andy, we worked for no money, for no expenses. I was spending increasingly large amounts of time up in London and traveling around the country, and I think it's just important to mention that because we aren't in this for the money. We're certainly not in it for the money. We do it because we believe we need to make a difference in the world of residential surveying. We all came into residential surveying from outside of this sector. And I think we all recognize that this was an industry that really needed changing and uplifting. And so, we do everything we do because we believe that it's the right thing to do and not just because of the money. 5 key objectives of the RPSA. Firstly, increasing the demand for surveys overall. That's making the pie bigger. The number of surveyors is not growing that rapidly generally, but if we've got a bigger pie to eat from, then we all get to eat more, which means everybody earns more, which is exactly what we want to achieve. We want to give people the opportunity to build their businesses and so on. So it's about creating an increased demand for surveys. And also raising quality standards. The thing that struck me, I came into the industry from outside back in 2006, and what I recognized right away was that the quality standards were pretty abysmal. There was an awful lot of people who were getting survey reports saying it wasn't worth the paper it was written on. That's inexcusable. And so for me, it was all about raising standards and setting the bar as high as we possibly could. The RPSA exists to support the careers and businesses of independent surveyors, of you, the members. That's what we're there to do, is to support our members. And everything we do is geared towards that. And part of that is in innovating new products, innovating new markets. And part of what we're doing with this new technical and affiliate membership program is to build that base of product and markets. But really being innovative and trying to sort of think of new ideas. But as I said earlier, what matters more than anything else, what we do for a living is deliver advice to consumers. to customers. We are all consumers ourselves. We all need good advice from professionals, and that's what we as an organization aim to achieve. Some of the major achievements we've had, I mean, there've been lots along the way, but some just to pick out and highlight. I said, setting the highest industry standards for condition surveys. I think it's, when I look at a lot of survey reports and you see, lots full of caveats and exclusions, and I'm not telling you this, can't tell you that, it's just wrong. We are there, we're professionals, and professionals give people good advice, they give them answers and they give them clarity. And that's what we should be doing in our surveys. And that's why we created the highest standards in our industry for condition surveys. We also created the first standards for new build snagging. When people were coming to me in 2019 and saying, we want to do more snagging surveys, but how do we do them? Where do we sit with this? And we recognized there was no standards. So we said, right, let's make some. And that's what we did. And I'll explain how we did that in a little while. Another thing, members were saying they're seeing spray foam insulation on the underside of lofts. It was causing problems for buyers, causing problems for lenders. So how do they give guidance on this? So RPSA convened with PCA, Property Care Association. We convened a stakeholder group right across the industry to research spray foam insulation and come up with clear guidance. The first time that surveyors have had clear guidance to know how to properly advise their clients and their customers, which is exactly what we should be doing. There's something called the Home Buying and Selling Group. This is the biggest stakeholder group in the home buying and selling world, which advises government on policy decisions about making the home buying and selling process better. And RPSA are the key surveying contributor to that. There are other surveying associations out there, but it's RPSA that really does deliver the answers to the questions about surveying in that group. And we are the go-to source of information for that. And perhaps the jewel in our crown is our panel. We have which, as I said, Andy McCall, my colleague, runs. We're putting more than £1 million a year into our members' pockets. Now, I know of no other professional association that puts way more into its members' pockets than it takes out. It just doesn't happen. But this is a unique proposition, and this is something that will extend into other areas of business as we grow. And it is a very special thing which really sets us apart. We work right across the industry. So, what I think that one of the big value of being associated with RPSA is that it gives you a voice at the top table. And this is the top table of people within our industry. And, it's the lawmakers, the law societies, society of licensed conveyancers, it's the financial people, UK Finance, which is, with all the lenders, and building societies association. It's the professional associations like RICS, CABE. It's all these organizations that make up our industry and that we interact with. And it's all really focused on how can we create more opportunities for our members to be able to deliver surveys. So the ambitions for the new membership program, firstly, is to become recognized as the trust mark for residential inspections. It's very difficult for a consumer to know where to go for good advice. Everybody struggles. But if there's a clear mark, a clear brand, a clear name that people can look for, and they can see that across a range of different disciplines, then it gives people confidence that they can go there. We want to be the natural home for all residential property practitioners. I mean, currently, this is a very fragmented industry. Yes, we've got the sort of community of condition surveyors that have been doing building surveys, home buyer surveys, and then you've got sort of snagging people, and you've got inventory people and dilapidations people, all these people, energy people, all spread around and all very diverse. But actually, we all do pretty much the same job, don't we? We all go into people's homes and deliver advice, and we should be doing that consistently. And by working together, then we can be that sort of natural home. And just coming back on our panel there, that one member has just commented in the chat that he's received £60,000 for the business since he started in 2019. I assume that's from the panel, Chris. But yeah, I mean, that's fantastic that we can deliver that to members. So the other thing is to provide a thriving and dynamic community for surveyors. We as surveyors, we do tend to work in isolation. And so I think it's important that we have somewhere where we can all come together, share our skills and knowledge and experiences, and by doing that, we all grow stronger. We need to set standards in areas where there's, they've not been regulated. Now we've done that now in snagging, but there's other areas like inventories, dilapidation, schedules of condition, all those sorts of areas, which don't have standards at the moment. So, we need to do that piece of work. And yes, you'll see the medals behind me. Life isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. We can't do it all on day one, but these have got to be our aspirations and our ambitions. But the other thing we do, as I said earlier, is to represent all our members at government and stakeholder level. We are your voice at that top table, and we can take your message and deliver it to the people that can make a difference. So let's look at where we're going with membership grades. So previously we had full and student memberships, that was it. So now we have full membership, which is, we'll come on to explain these in a little more detail. We have technical membership, student, and affiliate. So those are the 4 grades of membership that we will now have within the association. I'm just checking. I hope you are all seeing my screen, aren't you? Hopefully. Yes, hopefully you're seeing the presentation. If not, I'm talking nonsense here. Shout it, put something in the chat if you're not seeing the presentation. So membership grades. So if we look at full membership first of all. So now, if you are a full member, and I know we have a number of full members with us today, there are no changes whatsoever to your membership. It remains exactly the same. Nothing changes. So the cost of full membership is £180 a year, £15 a month. So the qualification route for full membership is a diploma in home inspection, diploma in residential surveying, a building surveying degree, an equivalent membership, be it RICS, CABE, CIOB, or the APEL route, the assessment of prior experiential learning, the experienced practitioners route. So those are the routes. Now, the APEL route is an established route. We have it worked out. We know exactly how it operates, etc. So, that's, and we will talk about that again in a minute. And the skills of those people is primarily building surveying. So building surveys, home buyer surveys, buy-to-let surveys, that sort of thing. Now, new membership category is technical. Now, the fee for technical is also £180 a year. Why is it £180 a year? Well, when I see what comments other organisations get about membership fees, somebody's always saying, I should be paying more, I should be paying less, they pay more, they pay less. People are never happy. So whatever we do, somebody's not going to like it. But also, in my view, as a member of RPSA, whether you are full member or technical member, you are a member. And you have a voice exactly the same as every other member, and that voice is worth exactly the same. And so I don't think that there should be a differential there in the membership fee. And the other thing is that quite a few people will probably, the lines between full and technical are not. There is a blur. There are some people who sit across those, and for those people, then have to say, well, I'm going to be that member because it saves me £5 here, and it's just too much. Keep it simple, and that's why it's £180 a year. £180 a year, right, is £15 a month. That's 50p a day, right? Now I worked out that's 300 millilitres of diesel a day. It's a cup. It's a less than that. Oh, you can see that mug. Less than that mug full a day of diesel or petrol is what it costs to be a member. So it's not a lot. And I think when you see what we deliver in value, I think it's worth way more than that. So for individuals, technical membership is only for individuals. It's for membership qualification is a minimum of NVQ level 3 equivalent, right, in a related activity. So, if you've got an NVQ level 3 in crochet, then no, it wouldn't give you membership. If you've got NVQ level 3 in site management or something, yes, it would. Equivalent membership would be something like Tech CABE. I'm not sure there's many others that I've found. Now, there is, as we speak, no APEL route. There will not be for a little while because we've got to work on it, and that's something that we'll come back to in a minute. Because an APEL route is actually quite complicated to to work out. So we are going to work on it. It will happen. If you don't have a qualification at the moment, I'm sorry, there isn't an experienced practitioner route for you to join at this moment. It is a priority. And the sorts of skills that people would have coming into technical membership would be snagging inventories, energy assessment, DLAPs, insurance assessment, timber and damp. There may be others as well. Student member. Now, student member is for individuals again, and it is only for those studying diploma in residential surveying, which is the SAVA course, or building surveying degree. Now, there is no student membership for technical members. And the reason is that the technical membership level is an NVQ level 3, and generally an NVQ level 3 is something you can attain relatively quickly. A SAVA student or somebody on the SAVA course would be, I'll come back to that in a moment, Jackie, yes. So the SAVA course would take about 2 years. A building surveying degree would be 3 to 4 years. So a question in the chat there, just to clarify, the SAVA residential surveying evaluation diploma, if completed, we can join full membership. Absolutely. There is no route from student to technical. There's only a route from student to full. So once you've passed your SAVA diploma, you go straight to full. And as I say, the reason being that somebody training to do an NVQ level 3, which will bring them into technical membership, the training period is weeks or even days sometimes, isn't it? It's very brief. So you might as well just come straight into technical. So somebody coming through the student route would become a full member and would be doing building surveying. And they can do the other skills as well, because obviously they're overqualified for the other things. And then for affiliates, now affiliates, it costs £500 a year. It is for firms only. So there are no individual people who are affiliate members. It's only for firms where 50% or more of their relevant active surveyors are full or technical RPSA members. And I'll explain what I mean by relevant active surveyors in due course. But yeah, at least half their relevant active surveyors must be members, individual, full or technical members. And so this would, again, an affiliate firm could be across all disciplines, building, surveying, snagging, inventories, etc. Now, just to look at some of the benefits of membership and also some of the requirements of membership. So for full members, and those full members who are amongst us will know that these things exist: code of conduct, terms and conditions, property ombudsman scheme, there's our panel, there's PI products, national representation, support, events, and you're allowed to use the post-nominal initials RPSA. So those things are already established. They don't change, exactly the same as before. In return, the requirements for a full member is that you adhere to the code of conduct. And I put that in red because that probably is the most sort of fundamental requirement for every single member of RPSA, no matter what level you're at, is adherence to the code of conduct. But also that you have to do CPD, have PI, have a complaints handling process, have policies for GDPR, policy for environmental policy, ethnicity, diversity, and inclusivity policy, health and safety policy, and we provide all these policies. So they're all there, and you must work within your competency. Sorry if my chair is creaky, by the way. A technical member. Now, I've put little stars by a lot of the benefits there. As of today, they aren't there. But we're working on them. And the reason that we're working on them and they're not there is that we don't want to sort of go ahead and put them all in place for then somebody to turn around and say, oh, actually, we don't want it like that. So, we want, accept the fact that this will develop in a relatively short time. We're actively working on it. So things like, we've spoken to the property ombudsman about extending our scheme to, people doing snagging and inventories and so on. And it looks like there's no problems to do that. We're speaking to PI people about, can we have a policy for snagging, inventories, whatever? And yes, all these things are doable, but we just want to make sure they're right. So they'll come along, but they're not there today. But again, you still get the national representation, the support, and the events that we run, our meet and greet events, our conference, all those sorts of things. And as a technical member, you can use the post-nominal title RPSA Tech. There's an argument over whether there's a space between RPSA and Tech. So, your votes, answers on a postcard, please, to should we have a space between RPSA and Tech? And again, I would just highlight the importance when you join right? It is on the condition that you adhere to the code of conduct. If you don't want to adhere to the code of conduct, you don't join. It's simple as that. Everybody has to. And so, yeah, you'll be able to get the code of conduct and you'll see exactly what's required. We'll cover that in a little bit more detail. And then also there's requirements on you to do CPD and PI and all the policies and things as well. For student, obviously they're learning, they haven't come into, they're not active in this role yet generally. Now, if they are active, then they can join as a full member already. Sometimes people do have qualifications and things, but again, there's a code of conduct and all the other sort of benefits. And again, they've got to adhere to that code of conduct. Now, for an affiliate firm, slightly different insofar as, yes, they've got to stick generally to the code of conduct, and there's that sort of national representation. But then there's the sort of quality by association and the demonstration of ethical and professional standards. And I think that that's what the affiliate program stands for is we recognize that our members are doing it, we're going to do the same. And then yeah, so again, code of conduct, PI, etc. So just to cover that affiliate in a little bit more detail, because I mentioned that thing about, is this for affiliate, is for firms, not individuals. So make that clear. You as an individual cannot join as an affiliate member. Only a firm can join as an affiliate member. Minimum 50% active relevant practitioners must be full or technical members. What do we mean by active relevant? So take an example of a firm. Now, bear in mind, RPSA is Residential Property Surveyors Association. We are residential. That's all we focus on, is the residential sector. So take a firm, for instance, is 75% of their business is in the commercial world, and only 25% of their business is, for instance, snagging surveys in residential. So it would be unreasonable for us to say, well, actually, all those practitioners you've got doing that 75% of commercial business must be members of RPSA, because it's nonsense. We wouldn't be able to offer them anything. So what we say is, if they are relevant, so the minimum 50% of the practitioners within your snagging cohort, that 25% of the business, 50% at least of those members must be full or technical members in their own right individually. And when I say active, I mean, you can't have 3 retired directors and call them part of your team. They're not, they're retired, they're not doing anything. So it's people who are actually doing the job. I'm sure that as we go along, there will be some gray areas here. There is a nice logo there, which is an affiliate membership logo, which an affiliate firm can put on their website and on their other business materials and so on, to show that they stand up for, it demonstrates that they stand up for professional and ethical standards, and it's quality by association. And I think there's a lot of firms out there who perhaps, because they don't have currently affiliations to or accreditations with professional organizations, it's a very powerful message that when people come there, because then they can go to our website and they look at the RPSA website and they can see the video and all the rest of it, and they go, actually, yes, this is an organization that stands for good things. Now, if you remember nothing else from today, I'd like you to remember this slide, please. Professionalism. Oh, did that appear? It disappeared. Okay. Involves being reliable, setting your own high standards, and showing that you care about every aspect of your job. It's about being industrious and organized and holding yourself accountable for your thoughts, words, and actions. And if you join an organization like RPSA, in my opinion, the day you join, you become a professional. And that means you are now your own police force. We aren't there to hold a bat above your head and slap you if you do anything wrong. You slap yourself if you do something wrong. And it's up to you to make sure that what you are doing meets the standards of our code of conduct and the standards of professional conduct, and that you manage yourself and you look at yourself on a daily basis and say, am I doing this right? So please, joining something like RPSA isn't just paying 15 quid a month. It's about accepting a responsibility, because you are a representative of the RPSA for other members. And if you let the RPSA down, you let other members down as well. So, do accept that it does come with that responsibility. And I think that that's a really important message that I want you to take away. Now, let's look at technical membership, because what we've got here, I mean, at the moment, primarily, I think initially we're going to be sort of looking at people doing snagging, but also there'll be people perhaps doing inventories, but this is going to extend gradually. Now, within the technical membership community, there'll be sub-communities of those different skill sets. And so what we proposed initially, and this may, if it's, we said 50, if it's 40 or 60, we can adapt. We recognize that this is an iterative process. This is going to develop. But where we've got 50 or more practitioners, right, then we set up an advisory group. So if we've got 50 or more snagging practitioners as technical members, and when you join, we register what your primary activity is, then we will set up the snagging advisory group. When we've got 50 or more practitioners doing inventories, we'll set up the inventory advisory group. And when we get 50 or more doing energy assessment, and you can perhaps guess what's coming next, and so on and so forth through the different groups. So there will be, different cohorts. We want to try and make it as representative as possible so that everybody has their voice. That's really important. Now, for each advisory group, we will have a representative panel, if you like, which will be a minimum of 3, probably, maybe a maximum of 6. And whether they're chosen by selection or election, or they're the ones that put their hands up, I don't know yet. Let's see. There may be far more people want to be, the panel for that group. We'll see. And then that group will report back to the council. So what are the functions of the advisory group? Well, the first one I think that we have to deal with is creating an APAL route for experienced practitioners. And it's not as straightforward as it sounds. Having gone through the exercise and doing it for our full membership, what you've got to do is you've got to say, well, okay, what are we going to assess? How are we going to assess it? What are the criteria we use for assessing it? How do we score that or rank it or rate it? What do we do with that rating or ranking? And how do we then process that through a system? And we've got to do this cost effectively. And we've got to do it now. For our full membership route, we asked for 3 full building surveys. We have already a quality assessment review process that we can go through. That existed beforehand. So we can take that, we can go through, do an assessment on each of those surveys in turn. We can score them, grade them in comparison with what other people do. So it's a fair approach. And then at the end of that, we can total up that score and say, do they achieve the standard or not? And the cost for that is £395. So, but it's cost effective. We can deliver it. It's no profit, but we can deliver it within that. We have to come up with the same sort of thing for all these other activities, be it snagging, inventories, etc. We also need to review the entry qualifications to say, do we need to be more specific about the particular qualification, MVQs, or should we keep it more generic? I'm a big fan of not having too many rules. Keep the rules to the absolute minimum. It's just easier for everybody then. And we don't, rules just get in the way very often. We need some, but let's be pragmatic about it. And then, we have to, we want the advisory group to deliver a wish list. So the 50 or so, or 100, however many it is, will then appoint their 5 representatives who will then create that wish list, which will then be filtered through to the council. And that wish list is, if in a perfect world, what would we want our industry to look like? And we can do it. We can do whatever we choose to do. We've proved it already. If we set out to do it, we can do it. Provided it's realistic, we can do it. Let's do it, and let's be ambitious. And there will be a nominated council member initially for each advisory group, and then in time, I'm sure that each advisory groups will have their own council member. So again, it's a developing process. We want to sort of take it one step at a time, but make sure that everybody is represented. So what are the requirements for somebody who is a technical member? Again, I cannot stress enough, adherence to that code of conduct. I will talk a little bit more. You've got to have PI. Now, the PI could be through a scheme. You don't have to necessarily have it for yourself, as long as your work is covered by PI. Work to inspection and reporting standards, and if there are no standards, we're going to create some. And observe standards of professional conduct. The standards of professional conduct form part of the code of conduct. And this is what they say. So the standards of professional conduct, which are within the code of conduct, list what you should do as a professional, and work within your competency is probably one of the most important. If you accept an instruction, if you turn up at a property and for whatever reason it's outside your skill set, you walk away, and fine, you don't get a fee that day. But that's what being a professional is about, and that's what we have to do. We only work within our competency. And I will just also draw your attention to the very last point on that, to notify the RPSA of any circumstances that may prevent them, that's you, or another member from observing this code of conduct. It's what I was talking about. We are our own policemen. We police ourselves. And if we are not able to meet the standards of the code of conduct or the standards of professional conduct, we've got to put our hand up and say so. Or if we see somebody else who's not doing it, we put our hand up and say so. And the answer to it from the RPSA is not to beat you around the head. The answer is to say, how can we help you achieve it? And let's work together to help you achieve it. So, it's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of, to say, look, I'm struggling here. I need some support, and we'll deliver support if we possibly can. Now, as I mentioned, that the primary reason we're setting up the technical membership level is what's happened in the world of snagging. And I'll explain here a little bit of background. Now, this started back in 2019. When members were saying to me, we want to do snagging, and I was saying, well, yeah, fine, but how do we write surveys? Because there's no standards, and we've got to have something to work to. And why were developers not allowing people on site to do snagging inspections? Because they didn't know what they were going to be doing. So I went along to the Ministry of Housing. I thought, start at the top, always the best way. I went to the Ministry of Housing and said, look, I've got this idea. I'd like to create some snagging standards. Is that a good idea in your world? And they bit my hand off. They said, well, yeah, I mean, they're having terrible quality problems in properties. They said, yes, definitely. What can we do to help? I said, well, we need to get a sort of an industry stakeholder group together in order to discuss it and to see how best we should do it. And what came out of that was, in October, we set up a stakeholder work group meeting with those and other people. Now, this was, and still is, as far as I know, the biggest ever group of stakeholders within the new build world, new build property sector, the biggest group that's ever been put together. And RPSA did that. And we single-handedly did that. And we put together that group with the objective of coming out with some snagging standards. Now, I'll cut a very long story short, and Harry Yates is on the call today, and he will, I'm sure, hopefully pop something in the chat to say it was a bloody long job, wasn't it? and I'm sure that he'll agree that it was a long job, but we got there. And in January 22, we got final sign off on the pre-completion inspection, which is basically standards. Yes, as Harry says in the chat, and Harry is a snagger, so so just to make the point, actually, that this process, it wasn't just about the house builders dictating. No, far from it. In fact, they were I wouldn't say on the back foot, but they had to accept the way it was going to be. Yeah, so we people like Harry were on there as well, talking about that. So yeah, between it's all part now of the New Homes Ombudsman scheme, and the New Homes Ombudsman scheme is now open for registrations from house builders. They have to go through a sort of a vetting process before they are accepted on the scheme. And the pre-completion inspection protocol will only be relevant to registrations that happen after the house builder has been accepted onto the New Homes Ombudsman scheme. And so we expect the first completed properties within that to be, in the third quarter this year, something like that. So this is, it's in process, as it were. It's not a retrospective thing. Now, what happened when we were creating this? This coincided with the New Homes Ombudsman scheme, which was government requirement, and the government set up they got industry to set up the New Homes Quality Board, and the New Homes Quality Board then created the Code of Practice, and the Code of Practice is the code that every builder, house builder, developer must comply with, right, when they become part of the New Homes Ombudsman scheme. And if somebody has a complaint under the terms of the code, they will go to the New Homes Ombudsman. So the developer must be part of this. And what it says in the code is the developer must provide an opportunity for the customer to visit the new home and or appoint a suitably qualified inspector. So yes, the customer can do it themselves, but actually I think that the builders are going to much prefer a professional inspector to do this, because then it gets consistency. And I think they will be pushing the customers towards getting a proper firm in to do this. And to complete the template pre-completion inspection. Now, I'm not going to go into the full detail of this. We will set up another session specifically for snagging to talk in more detail about this. But just to sort of say, sitting alongside the new homes, the code is developer guidance. And what it says for the developers is that the developer should not prevent or deny a customer from having a pre-completion inspection. The customer may wish for a suitably qualified inspector to represent them. A suitably qualified inspector must be a member of a recognized professional association, e.g. RICS, RPSA. Now, if you are a snagging practitioner at level 3, level 4, I don't think there is another route whereby you could be a member of a recognized professional association. And I think RPSA probably offers the only route there, certainly that I'm aware of. It does say you must hold relevant PI, only work within your competency, and work to the standard template. And RPSA standards match the requirements of the template. So yeah, you must be a member of recognized professional organization, hold PI, follow that protocol, and work within your competency. And the problem is, as if you're a snagging practitioner, if you are not part of this, the risk is that you will not be allowed on site to do a pre-completion inspection. It is a changing world. The new build world is changing dramatically. That every part of it, in terms of the way that customers relate to the builders. So yeah, there is a lot happening here. If we look at the energy efficiency world, and some of you may be involved in energy efficiency, but if you're not, think you could be actually. So we have something called minimum energy efficiency standards, and that requires currently that for a rental property, it must be a minimum EPC rating of E. That came in 2018, but there's talk about potential for a minimum D rating by 2025 and a C rating by 2030. That is a big, big step. It ain't going to happen with fitting a few heat pumps, that's for sure. And lenders are going to be required to declare their portfolio EPC data. So for across all the houses that they lend on, the mortgages that they've lent on, what is the average EPC? And they're going to have minimums and they're going to have to make people, they're going to give preferential rates for people who have more efficient houses. So this is, again, a very changing world. The problem is that, so we're going to have to retrofit, because 50% of our houses are more than 50 years old. So you can't just stick in a bit of loft insulation, a bit of cavity wall insulation. And in the retrofit world, there is a lack of effective assessment at the moment. Traditional buildings are being treated like modern buildings, and you can't do that, because it's going to cause a lot of problems. There's variable usage demands which just aren't being taken into account, and we've got to consider the effects on air quality, on moisture management, and it's this sort of balance between the cost versus the benefit versus the effects on the fabric of the building. there is an amazing opportunity here for surveyors of all types to learn and to specialize and to be able to advise on this. And again, RPSA should be the name, the brand that people look for when they want somebody they can trust, because actually most of the retrofit people out there right now just want to sell you something. And if we look at the world of inventories, currently it's quite fragmented. We've got different organizations, the Association of Independent Inventory Clerks, the Association of Inventory Professionals, we've got Isle of Property Mark. There are no national standards. There's no independent redress scheme. There's no formal PI requirement. And it's not dissimilar when we look at dilapidations insurance assessment. So there's a lot of work that's got to be done here, but we need to do it. We need to take on that responsibility and say, yeah, we'll do this work. So for, if you, and we mentioned some of those other organizations, and there's people like the PCA, Property Care Association, we've seen the AISC, AIC, lots of different organizations, RICS, CABE, CIOB. RPSA is complementary to those. It's not contradictory. Already, many of our members are, just been corrected there by Chris Dickens, all newly rented properties need an EPC or at least Band C from 31st December. So yeah, it's 2025, so that's happening. I missed something else there. So another one. We'll come back to that anyway. Yeah, our RPSA membership, would say, is complementary, not contradictory. Many of our members already are also members of RICS or CABE or CIOB or many other organizations. You can be members of different organizations. They all bring something else to the party. RPSA is across the whole housing sector, if you like, the residential sector, whereas many of these organizations are much more specific. But each of them adds a layer of knowledge and skills. So very much, the collaboration of expertise, is something that is vitally important. But by putting our voice together, it's a much louder voice. And that's the thing here, is that by all working in the same direction, we are going to be speaking much more loudly. And when we look at the opportunities, so firstly, yeah, it's important that for people who are currently doing snagging, that we want that opportunity to say, okay, yeah, you can carry on doing that under the new protocols that are coming in. And then, it strikes me that there's a great opportunity here. So if you're doing snagging, but actually inventories look quite attractive, well, there's a crossover there, isn't there? Or if you're doing dilapidations and you want to do snagging, well, there's a crossover. So there's lots of opportunity with all of you on this call today and other people, to cross skills, to deliver training, to find income opportunities by developing our skills in other areas. And by establishing industry standards, then we're going to set that benchmark. We'll deliver effective representation and really bring those skills to the top table of the residential sector. And I think for individuals, this is really important. We are an association of individual memberships, and it's about people and helping people develop their careers. So this is a great opportunity for individuals to look at new ways they can build their businesses, and creating that single trust mark for consumers. So a consumer knows what good looks like, because it can be really difficult sometimes, can't it, to know what good looks like. So just to quickly summarize, 50 pence a day is the cost of membership. As I say, it's about an eighth of a pint of beer. It depends where you live, I suppose. It is, somebody's going to tell me how the message there, somebody's going to tell me about cost of a pint of beer. I don't know. Anyway, 50p a day. It's really not a lot to it. So it's £15 a month is the way we normally bill it. It allows new build snagging practitioners to meet the requirements. It gives opportunities for development within our sector, and for crossing over with the skills and selling and marketing and income opportunities for members. It is a professional accreditation. It's already recognized by consumers, and it will become ever more so as we grow and as we develop. But it is that trust mark, and it's all about creating the future of residential surveying today. So if you'd like to join RPSA, please do it through the website. So if you go to rpsa.org.uk, go to the surveyor section and how to join. and you will find there's a little form for you to fill in, and that's the best way to do it, because then it fits in with all our systems, etc. I'm Alan Milstein. That's my phone number, my email address, and yeah, we are creating the future of residential surveying today.